I've never worked for another company. Well, I did. I worked at Nightingale Conant for 5 years. But the idea I'm trying to get across is I'm not that smart. Now, you're going to come across people that are absolutely brilliant. I mean, they could figure you right through a brick wall. I'm not one of those guys. And if you give me a slide rule or something like that, I'm lost. But this, I started and I understood it. I want you to understand it. Now watch this very carefully. This man, I talked to you yesterday about him, Leela Van der Waal. I want to honor this man. He's gone now, God bless him, and I miss him a lot. He and I were partners in business. We did seminars together. We were so in tune. We were both operating with the same information. He could stop talking, I'd start. I'd stop, he'd start. I mean, we were really locked into each other. Now, he taught me something that I mentioned yesterday, and I want to elaborate on it today. Use these mental faculties to create the world you want, and never settle for something you don't want. Now, you have these. These faculties are what separates you from the rest of the animal kingdom. Now, I want you to think about this. You're the highest form of life on the planet. No other form of life has what you've got. Now, you have these higher faculties. You have perception. If you're having a problem with a situation, you just have to shift your perception. Look at it differently. As you start to look at the problem from a different point of view, everything changes. Now, Earl Nightingale taught me an idea when I was working with him about perception that was important. He said, if you have a problem, and he said you don't seem to be able to solve it, write it out on a piece of paper and put it in the center of a table or in the center of your desk. So here I've got a problem written out. I can put it right in the center of my desk. Now he said, sit down and look at it. Now he said, the words you write are nothing but symbols to create an image in your mind. That's what's written on the paper does. Then go sit on the other side of the table and look at it from that point of view. Now, I might go to the other side of the table and I'd say, how would Earl Nightingale look at this? And into the table. And I go there and sit and look at it. And I would say, how would Edison look at this? You'd say, well, you couldn't do that. Yes, you can. You can do whatever you want. You're free. Now, if you don't get the answer there, put it at the other end of the table. Look at it and look at it and look at it. And say, how would Henry Ford look at this situation? Now, if you keep doing that, what your perception of the problem you've got, and I guarantee you start to come up with a solution. That's what perception does. If there's something you don't like about a situation, shift your perception on it. And when you do that, the situation will change. Now, look at this for a moment. We go from there to imagination. Napoleon Hill, he said in Think and Grow Rich, he said, imagination is the most powerful, it's the most marvelous, inconceivably powerful force you'll ever know. Now, your imagination will take you anywhere you want to go. Your imagination will take you to the other side of the world. It will take you into a whole new life. And you've got one. Most people are using their imagination against them. They're imagining everything's going to get worse. Start to imagine everything will get better. I have a license plate in my car. Expect. Expect what you want. Expect the situation to change. Now we're coming back to imagination a little later on. Then you have the will. Remember I quoted Dr. Wernher von Braun when John Kennedy asked him what would it take to build a rocket that would carry a person to the moon and bring him back safely to Earth? In 10 seconds, he said, the will to do it. See, von Braun knew, didn't matter what you thought of. You're capable of doing it. We're God's highest form of creation. We're working with energy. Everything's energy. He said the will to do it. See, the will is the mental faculty that gives you the ability to hold one idea on the screen of the mind to the exclusion of everything else. Watch the great golfers. I'm talking about the real good ones. They have highly evolved will. They have the ability to lock in on an idea and nothing can disturb it. Now, I'll tell you how you can develop your will. If you light a candle in a candle holder, I'll put it opposite where your favorite chair is. And every now and then when you sit down, light the candle, sit in the chair, totally relaxed, lock in on the flame. Focus on that flame. See how long you can stay focused on the flame. Now, it'll probably be 2 or 3 seconds, would shatter a family record. But if you keep practicing this, your mind will wander. Don't feel bad. Bring it back. You're developing a will. That gives you the ability to focus. Do you know what happens when you do that? You create power. See, there's energy flowing to and through you. And when you focus, you're giving power to that energy. Let's look at it this way. Let's suppose I'm in a dark room. I'm in a dark room. There is a sign on the wall opposite me, but I can't see it. Now, let's suppose I light the candle. There's light in the room now. I can see the sign, but I can't read it. Why? Because there's not enough light. Let's suppose I take the same amount of candle light and I put it in some kind of a focused situation, a flashlight. And I'll take the flashlight and I'll hold it and I'll focus on the sign. I could read every word. Now, what did I do? I marshaled all that energy, focused. And that's what the will does for you. It brings all your energy to focus on something. Now, let's go to the next one. Your memory. Do you know there's no such thing as a bad memory? Everyone has a perfect. I've on a number of occasions. Harry Lorraine has the best trained memory in the world. I worked with him one time in Toronto. He memorized Time magazine flying from New York to Toronto. And then he demonstrated using the magazine in Toronto. It was phenomenal. He had a partner, Jerry Lucas, he had been a famous basketball player. Anyway, he, for a time, was running seminars in San Francisco, teaching people how to memorize the Bible. We had a man come over to a seminar that we were doing here in Toronto, one of the Matrix seminars, and he was a psychiatrist from Saudi Arabia, and he was teaching people to memorize the Quran. Now imagine memorizing the Quran, memorizing the Bible. Well, you've got a perfect memory. It's just that it needs developing. Every one of these faculties are perfect. It just needs developing. Then you have another one. You've got intuition. Now, I have been working for years at developing my intuition, and I'm getting very good at it. But I know I can get better. Now, what is intuition? Intuition is a mental faculty that enables you to pick up vibration and then translate it in your mind. So in other words, you can pick up what somebody else is thinking and translate it in your mind. You can pick up the energy from another person. If they shift their energy, you will feel it. This is very, very powerful. You communicate through intuitive measures. Now, you see, where we take our telephone and we can communicate, I mentioned earlier, in Kota Kinabalu in Malaysia, from Albany in New York, you could do that without the telephone. You could do it with your intuitive mind. And you're doing this. Every now and then you get a feeling you should call somebody. And as you think of it, the phone rings. They're on the line. See, they were thinking of phoning you. You picked that thought up. You went to act on it. They acted on it first. That's your intuition. You have the ability to develop that. And last but not least, we have reason. That gives us the ability to think. Thinking is the highest function you and I are capable of. Now, unfortunately, all the way through school, nothing is taught on that. What are we told? Will you look at this? Will you listen to what I'm talking to you about? And it's all just our sensory factors. Do you know that your little friends that are running around on four legs, they can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. But they don't have all these other higher faculties. I think you want to start developing them. Now, stay with me here, because as you start developing these, everything changes. See, it's all about the mind. And we talked about this yesterday, and we'll talk about it again. It's your marvelous mind. You have one. Now, you may be looking at your results today and you may think, well, I've never really done anything. But you can. Start now. Just start now. Don't think you can't. Understanding the laws governing the mind, if you want to harmonize with the money frequency. It's your mind. That's what you're going to do. You're not going to do it with your arm, your leg. Doesn't matter how physically strong you are. You're doing this mentally. And you can do a very good job. Now, I mentioned yesterday that all the teachers I've had, they all helped me focus on my mindset. I have a very strong mindset. It's given me a life that most people just dream of living. That's what my mindset has done. Mindset will do the same for you. It'll do exactly the same for you. The secret is your mindset. Just put this full screen for a second time and let's look at it. Now, here I am. I started out, no formal education, no business experience, no money. I was earning $4,000, I owed $6,000. In less than 5 years, I went into an office cleaning business. Oh, why did I do that? I did it just to earn some money. I didn't know how to do anything else. So I got a bucket and mop and I went to work. And the guy said, you should be working for yourself. So that's what I did. I got one contract. It was $15 a month. I washed the floor twice a month. And then I got another one for $65 a month. And then they started to add. Within months, that year, I was up that I had going $12,500 a month in contracts I was earning. If you annualize that, that's $175,000 a year. In less than 5 years, I had offices going in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and London, England, and my income was up over $1 million a year. This does not happen by accident. It happens by design. I'll go full screen again. This is the mindset. I had a mindset. They had me write what I wanted on a card. Your mindset, that's what your goal is. Mindset will do the same for you as it's done for me. It's given me a life that most people just dream of living. The secret is mindset. So let's stay with me here. It's not about, it's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not. People don't believe they've got the power that they've got. You see, it's rather sad. This is where you set your goal. And that's where your mindset comes in. Because your goal is the mindset. You get the picture of what you want in your mind. I have a picture in my mind right now. And I'm locked into the same goal as one of our senior executives. He and I have the same goal. We're locked into it. That gives it more power. Now, we're only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. So let's get our imagination going, and then let's focus. Let's really focus. Now, I'm going to run through a couple of things, then I'm going to get into vibration with you. When you talk about goals, this is where most people operate. They operate with an A-type goal. An A-type goal is something you already know how to do. And people are doing it, it's just a repeat performance. They do the same thing over and over again. I remember talking to a fellow one time, he said his goal was to get a new car. I said, well, that's pretty good. And I said, what kind of a car you got now? I think he said a Ford, something like that. And I said, how long you had it? He said, about 4 years. And I said, how old is it? He said, 4 years old. So I said, what you're telling me, you got a new Ford 4 years ago? And he said, yeah. I said, well, you see, you've known how to do that for 4 years. That's not a goal. You could use it. You might get yourself a new car. You can do that. You can get a new Ford. But you're capable of much better. So they start to raise the bar. So then they start to plan. And they start to think of what I can do. So you think, well, if I did this and I did that and I did this and so, then I could do this. Well, what you're doing here, you're doing something you already know how to do again because you planned it out in your mind. Where do you want to go? Now look at this. I want you to look at this carefully. You want to go up here. You want to go what I want. That's where fantasy comes in. And that's why we knock it down. This is something you don't want to knock down. This is something you want to get your mind going on. Get your imagination going and see what you want. But most people don't. They go from down here, what they know how to do, up to what they think they can do. Nothing's working right. They come back here, then they go back up there, then they come back down here, and that's where they stay stuck, right there. And that's how they go through life. Now that is rather sad, but that's the way it works. Now I want you to pay real close attention to this. Remember what we said? An A-type goal, people are doing what they already know how to do. That is a waste of energy. It's an absolute waste of energy. Then we have the B-type goal. And the B-type goal is doing what you think you can do. Well, that's not going to do it. What you want to do is you got to stretch. You got to really stretch. Blow this up, Johnny. Look here. You got to stretch. You've got to really get your mind going. This is where you kick your imagination into high gear. And you get up there in a C-type goal. A C-type goal is what do you really want to do? That's where you've got to go. You don't know how, but you know you will. Now that is the kind of attitude that'll give you anything you want. It's given me an income. It's given me millions of dollars a year. I'm 87 and I'm still going strong. 90. The age has got nothing to do with it. It's your attitude. You get the right attitude, baby, and I'm going to tell you, you can do anything you want. Now stick with us. Look at this. This is pretty beautiful. I love this. And when you look at it, you really think about it. Here's Albert Einstein. He said, blow it up, please. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. It's physics. Now look at. He said, match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get it. Get that reality. Now listen. Listen to me here. What are we saying? We know everything's here. Nothing's created or destroyed. Everything's energy. What we've got to do is get on the frequency. We've got to match the frequency. Now, what do we mean by that? That means that you've got to get vibrating, you do, on the same frequency of the good that you desire. You literally fall in love with the idea of what you want. If you hold that idea in your mind, you will start moving toward it, and it'll start moving toward you. I remember Earl Nightingale one time, he said, when you set a goal and you start to move towards it, it'll start to move towards you. And I thought, how in hell could that happen? Well, it happens because you're on the same frequency. Everything on that frequency is going to come into your life. If I could sit down and lay out something and show you. There's a woman, Joan Passavy. She lives in Western Canada. And she wanted to put everything I've done in a book. I guess like some kind of a biography. I was thinking about it the other day because I've done so many strange things, and most people would laugh at it. Most people would say it won't work. But I just had an innate awareness of this, and I knew if you stay focused, it's got to work. It's not maybe or sometime. Match the frequency. Get on the same frequency as the good you desire. Now look at this. This is something you want to blow up. You can control the flow of the thought energy. You got to let it flow freely to and through you, improving everything with which it connects. Now, we've got a couple of ideas that we show in presentation. I'm going into the frequencies here in just a moment with you. And we say there's two things you have to know. You have to know where you are and you have to know where you're going. He started to control the flow of thought energy, and he let it flow freely to and through him, improving everything with which it connects. Now go full screen here and leave it there. A frequency is a level of vibration. Keep this in mind. There are an infinite number of frequencies. Infinite. No end to them. Start counting, you can never stop. Infinite number of frequencies. Think of this. And we mentioned this before. Every frequency is connected to the one above and the one below. This is so important we know this. This is how you can connect from one frequency to another. You just move from one to another. You're capable of doing that. I mentioned that I could get someone on the phone. This is a phone. There's no wires hooked up to this. In Kota Kinabalu in Malaysia. That's right over on the coast of Malaysia. And by the way, it's one of the most beautiful places you'll ever visit. I love it. The people there, natives of that area, they're just absolutely remarkable individuals. But at any rate, you could be, I said, in Albany, New York, somebody else is in Kota Kinabalu, and because you're on the same frequency, you can communicate. Can I go back full screen? Now look here for a moment. Let's say you are there, where the X is. Take an honest look at where you are in your life, and you can see how you got there. Now, this is something both Arash and I were telling you people have difficulty with. Okay? Let these frequencies represent, or these lines represent frequencies. Now, they could represent different points in your life. Each one of those lines could represent a different point in your life. You were living on a different frequency. Stop and think of where you were living 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 16 years ago. Each one of these levels represent that part of life. So you're here. You've raised yourself to this level of consciousness. Now think for a moment. You've raised yourself to this level of consciousness, and you want something far beyond where you are. You say, that's where I want to go there. But you have no idea how to get there. You don't have enough money. At full screen, all right? The screen's more important than me right now, all right? That's where you want to go. And you get there, so what do? You just let it fade. But it won't stay away. It comes back. And it keeps coming back to your mind. That's what you want. But you don't know how to get there. This is where the proper mentor comes in. This is where I was fortunate. I had the right mentor. The right mentor will teach you the way to live by law. Make it fair. You think you can skirt around and do things a little on the shady side and make an extra couple of bucks. You're wasting your energy. Keep your energy focused. That's where you want to go. And we've got to keep this in mind. To move to a much higher frequency of thought, you must first consent. In other words, that means you've got to decide. I can't do it for you. As much as I would like to, from my brother, my sister, my aunts and uncles, my nieces, my nephews, my grandkids. This is something I would like to do for almost everybody I know. When I see them struggle, I'd say, God, I'd love to do this for you. But you can't do it. You've got to do it for yourself. Move to a much higher frequency. You've got to consent. And then you have to adapt to the ideas and feelings the new frequency represent. Do you remember when you changed schools? The energy was different. You had to adapt to the new frequency. Do you remember when you started in this new company? You didn't know anybody. You'd hear people look and say, that's the new guy. That's the new girl. You had to adapt to the new frequency. Adapt to the feelings, the ideas. Now keep thinking. At the suggestion of a move, your paradigm will instantly put up a huge battle, and it'll continually fight you. You must take conscious control over the paradigm or remove and replace it. You see, the paradigm is that idea that's in your subconscious mind. It started to be built in there when you were a baby. But before that, before you were even born, it was being built. At the moment of conception, the genetic joint was connected. You see, all mom's DNA and all dad's DNA came together, and that created your DNA. So that's part of your paradigm. It goes back right into your parents' and your grandparents' family. This is very powerful. Paradigms are powerful. Try and change a paradigm. It is difficult. A paradigm is our habitual way of looking at life, our habitual way of living. Well, you've got to change the paradigm. You see, and just at the suggestion of a move, that paradigm instantly puts up a change. When you think of doing something that's far beyond what you have ever done, instantly the paradigm will try and stop you. So here you are here, and that's where you want to go. We got to understand is there is a place. There is a place. You see, that isn't just sitting out there by itself. The good you desire is a frequency. There's your money frequency. That's a frequency. That's the new building you want. That's the new dress you want. That's the new car you want. That's the new house you want. That's a summer. That's a trip you want to take. It's something you see in your imagination. But I'm going to tell you, there's a frequency that matches with it. You've got to get your energy in harmony with that. Now look here for a moment. The moment your belief matches with any state, you fuse with it. This union results in the activation and the projection of its plots, plans, conditions, and circumstance. Now seriously think about what we're talking about here. The moment your belief matches with any state, so you've got this beautiful idea, you're studying, and you think, I'm going to get that. This is, how do you fuse with it? You act like the person you want to become. Every personal development course you'll ever look at, act like the person you want to become. The moment your belief matches with any state, you fuse with it. You become one with it. This union results in the activation and projection of its plots, plans, conditions, and circumstances. The law of attraction. Everything's falling into place. You say, damn, is this ever easy? As long as you do this, it will be, because you're working in harmony with the law. Now, this new state of conscious awareness is the home from which you view the world. It becomes your home. But remember, that old paradigm is trying to stop you. So you've got to understand, as you're making this new concept, your new home, this is where you're going to live mentally. Your old paradigm is trying to kick up a battle. Your new conscious awareness becomes your home from which you view the world. Now look at this. This is your workshop. If you're observant, you're going to see outer reality shaping itself upon the model of your imagination. Oh, I hope you're getting this. Listen, let me show you something. See this? This is a record player. See this little record? I carried this with me every...
Nor is this Lead the Field program a collection of... Hello, this is Earl Nightingale. In this recording, the magic word is the first of 12 you'll receive in this series titled How You Can Lead the Field in the Modern World. Before we start, I'd like you to know that I'm not going to try to tell you how to live your life. That's none of my business, nor is it anybody else's business. That's your business. Nor is this Lead the Field program a collection of pleasantries, platitudes, or Pollyanna. It is a summation of more than 20 years of research on one subject, and that is, why do some people do so well in life, while so many more do not? And the first thing let's talk about is the magic word. The experts call it the most important word as far as the results we get from life are concerned in this or any other language. And that word is attitude. It is our attitude toward life which will determine life's attitude toward us.
See, I probably listened to that recording couple of thousand times. For a number of years, I played those records of Earl's over and over and over. It's the repetition of an idea that makes the difference. Let me show you something I'm doing here. Now, I have a book holder here that holds a book open on my desk. Why do I have it? I made an appointment with Earl Nightingale in 1966. I got 1 hour of his time. He was at 333 North Michigan, where his office was. I phoned, I got an hour of his time. And I went and I was talking to Earl for an hour. I was as nervous as you could be when I first got in there. Instantly, I become relaxed, and he did that. He helped me just be as relaxed as anybody's ever been. And I sit and I was talking to him. And it was just a rich, rewarding experience. In fact, it dictated the rest of the course of my life. And I'll tell you about that in a moment. Now, at first, I saw this on his desk, and I said, Earl, what is that? Well, he says, it's a book holder. And I said, well, what do you do? And I said, he said, well, I keep the pages open so I can read it. And I said, well, if you want to go to the next page, you're going to have to keep moving those things. Isn't that a little inconvenient? He said, I don't want to go to the next page. He says, I stay on this page until I see I'm doing what he's talking about. He said, what? He said, I keep reading this until I see myself doing what he's talking about. Now, I'll tell you why I'm at this particular page right now. We're talking about the Wright brothers. We know they were the first one, 2 bicycle mechanics that put the first plane in the air. Said the lesson to be learned. Aviation of the present day, the triumph of principle over precedent, of the working out of an idea to its logical conclusion in spite of the accumulated testimony to all past experience. To the contrary, and with such a remarkable example before us, can we say that it is futile to inquire whether by the same method we may not unlock still more important secrets? You see, everybody said the plane couldn't fly. All the experts, it's heavier than air. Anything heavier than air is attracted towards the center of the earth. That was believed. Well, if we keep doing this, couldn't we, by the same method, unlock the secrets? You see, if we keep thinking of how can I go further, our imagination will take us there. That's what he's saying. This works like magic. By the way, if you want to get one of these, go to Nora.com. N-O-R. Is it Nora or Nora's? Nora's. Nora's Gold, that's it. N-O-R-A-S Gold.com. N-O-R-A-S Gold.com. This, I've had many book holders. This is one of the best I've ever had. That's where you get it. But at any rate, I'm using this because I want to do with my mind the same thing the Wright brothers did. They said, I don't believe that you can't do it. Just because you say you can't and you can prove you can't, I'm going to prove you can. So they kept thinking beyond that glass ceiling or that steel ceiling. If I keep reading that, I know I'm going to keep thinking that. As I get stuck with something, I think of that. So I keep reading it. I keep reading it. What did he say? Of all past experience to the contrary. And which notable examples before us? Can we say that it is futile to inquire whether by the same methods we may not unlock still more important secrets and gain some which are at the back of external and visible conditions? You see, I keep reading stuff like this every day. Way back in the 60s, I was listening to this. Just keep listening. If you want to change your paradigm, if you want to change your life, lock into things, and it's the repetition that makes the difference. Nora's Gold, Noras gold.com. Get one of those book holders. Put something in it where you want to learn. Now keep thinking. I want you to stay with me. When you move, this is very important. When you move to a higher frequency, you're going to be communicating with the world that is totally foreign to and beyond the reach of your five senses. See, this is where people are going to think, this guy's nuts. He thinks he can become a millionaire. And he's broke. That's where I was. I was thinking I could become a millionaire, and I was broke. You know why? Because Ray Stanford kept telling me. Ray Stanford kept telling me, you keep doing it, Bob. You can do it. And then Leland Bell Van de Waal, after I had done it, he kept telling me, you can go further, Bob. There's so much you can learn. Let me show you a drawing of the mind and the body. I'll show you just exactly what you're capable of doing. And Val got me into that. Then I started work with Earl and Lloyd Conant. You see, I have had experiences. The right people. When you get with the right people, broaden your view, your perception of what you're capable of doing. There's no end to it. But you're dealing with a world that's totally foreign to and beyond the reach of your five senses. You're talking about things you're dealing in the imagination and the intuition. You're not going by what you see, hear, smell, taste, touch. You're going to move to the higher frequency. And when you do that, your world will change. This. Look at the change. From December the 17th, 1903 to July the 20th, 1969, we went from the Wright brothers making a 14-second flight to the moon. From Kitty Hawk, North Carolina to the moon in just 979 months. Wow. Now look here. There you are. There's your dream. Here's something that's really important. Steve Jobs, who you've got to really admire, taught us this. He said, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in the future. In other words, you can't see what you have to do to get there. You're just going to have to believe you can get there. And look at this. If you believe it, what happens? Well, all kinds of strange things happen. And the way be shown. When you get there, you'll say, damn, I could have gone there. And that's right. There's no end to where you can go. Absolutely no end. So don't hold back. Understand. There is a place. And you say, I'd really love to go there. Realize there is a place. This is so important. That was the record I listened to thousands of times. I want to suggest you get it. You'll find it online somewhere. Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret. Arash, take it away.